There is a wall on your right that is the United States. The wall on your left is Mexico. The cliffs above you are 1,500 feet tall, and they close to within 30 feet of each other. Most people picture Texas as flat, wide, and obvious, all sky and highway and nothing to obstruct the view. What they have never been told is that this state hides some of the most extreme natural geography anywhere in North America. Canyons that swallow whole afternoons, springs that run turquoise after rain, caverns where the roof dropped out 100,000 years ago and left something that looks like it belongs in a fairy tale, and a waterfall that is not wearing its cliff down. It is building it taller, drop by drop, right now. 12 natural wonders that tourists somehow always miss. This channel covers the Texas that the brochures can't sell, because you can't sell a river you can barely reach or a waterfall locked behind a private gate. That's the version we're after. Stick around. This one earns it. Number 12, Palo Duro Canyon. Most Texans can name it. Almost no one outside the state has heard of it. That gap says everything. The canyon sits just south of Amarillo, slashed into the flat Panhandle plain so completely that you drive through what looks like endless tabletop land, and then the ground simply opens. A cut running roughly 120 miles long and dropping as much as 800 feet. That is why people call it the second largest canyon in the United States. Banded walls in red, gold, and ochre stack more than 250 million years of geology from the canyon floor to the rim. The deepest layers that red Permian clay laid down before complex animals existed on this planet. The signature landmark down in the canyon is the lighthouse, a slender freestanding rock hoodoo that rises from the floor with no connection to anything around it, shaped exactly like its name. Picture this. You drive 3 hours from Dallas, expecting the Panhandle to be nothing, and you step out at the rim, and there is an 800-foot canyon in front of you that nobody in your life ever mentioned. The heat in summer radiates off those red walls in waves. The trail down into it is long and exposed, and most visitors stand at the edge, take a photograph, and get back in the car. The canyon does not care. It has been here for a very long time, and it will be here long after the parking lot is gone. Out-of-state visitors chase the Grand Canyon instead. Few consider that something this vast could be hiding in flat Texas. The second largest canyon in the country, and most people have never heard its name. Number 11, Enchanted Rock. The name sounds like it was invented by a tourism board. It was not. The Tonkawa named it first, and what they named it for is still happening every night on that hillside north of Fredericksburg. The dome of pink granite rises 425 feet above the surrounding hill country. Not a mountain exactly, just a single massive curve of ancient stone breaking the surface of the land like a whale cresting. The rock is approximately 1.1 billion years old. Below what you can see, the same batholith pushes more than 60 miles underground. At night, as the granite cools and contracts after a hot Texas day, the dome creaks and groans from somewhere inside itself. A low, sourceless sound that has no obvious explanation until someone tells you the physics of it. The Tonkawa interpreted it as ghost fires and spirits. The physics version is just as strange. A mountain that old making sound in the dark because the temperature dropped. You camp near the base, hear it, and you understand why they named it what they did. Here is the part that surprises people who make the drive. The summit is fragile in a way you would not expect from a billion-year-old piece of granite. Shallow rain-fed pools on the dome-top shelter, tiny endangered fairy shrimp, organisms that live nowhere else nearby. And foot traffic is restricted to protect them. The park caps how many people can be on the dome at once. A mountain old enough to predate complex animal life, and you have to book it like a restaurant reservation. Number 10, McKittrick Canyon. The Guadalupe Mountains of far west Texas are not what most people expect a mountain range to look like. They are pale and sharp-edged, rising from Chihuahuan desert scrub, and the reason they exist at all is one of the stranger facts in North American geology. The entire range is an exposed fossil reef, the Capitan Reef, built by living marine organisms in a shallow inland sea more than 260 million years ago. It is one of the best preserved ancient reefs on Earth. It now rises to Guadalupe Peak, the highest point in the entire state of Texas. McKittrick Canyon cuts into that reef formation, and for about 2 weeks, every late October, it does something a desert canyon has no logical reason to do. It turns red and gold. Big-tooth maples burn against the limestone walls in colors that belong in Vermont, not the Chihuahuan Desert. You drive hours into the emptiest corner of the state and walk into a canyon where the fall foliage is set against a cliff built by organisms that died before the dinosaurs evolved. The catch is real and specific. This is the least visited national park in Texas. The fall color window opens and closes in roughly 2 weeks. Hit a drought year or miss the timing by a week, and the desert stays brown and the trees stay green and then drop without ceremony. 2 weeks of color in a reef that took millions of years to build, and the calendar does not negotiate. Number 9, Dinosaur Valley. The Paluxy River near Glen Rose is a modest, clear-running hill country creek. In normal conditions, it looks like exactly that. You wade in, the water is cool, the limestone riverbed is smooth underfoot. Then you look down and the riverbed tells you something else entirely. Pressed into the limestone are the footprints of animals that walked here approximately 110 million years ago. The three-toed tracks of an Acrocanthosaurus standing around 15 feet tall, and the deep, wide impressions of a sauropod that may have reached 60 feet from nose to tail. Some of the finest dinosaur trackways in the world, set in the floor of a Texas creek you can wade across in 30 seconds. Here is the part that makes this place genuinely strange. The best of those tracks are underwater most of the time. The Paluxy River covers them. Normal water levels, normal year. Most visitors see only a fraction of what exists in that riverbed. It takes a drought. In 2022, a severe drought dropped the Paluxy River far enough to expose more than 70 footprints that no living person had ever seen. Prints that had been submerged for decades, underwater since before anyone alive was born, suddenly sitting in open air. The finest dinosaur trackways in the world are hidden underwater. You need a drought to find them. That is the deal this place offers, and it is the only deal available. Number 8, Caddo Lake. Drive to the Louisiana border in far east Texas, and the landscape changes without announcement. The pines close in. The road narrows. The light comes through in pieces. And then you are at the edge of 27,000 acres of bald cypress swamp, a maze of sloughs and bayous and waterways draped in Spanish moss, looking nothing at all like the rest of Texas, because it is not like the rest of Texas. Caddo Lake was the only large natural lake in all of the state before the dams arrived, and the way it formed is worth the drive by itself. Around the year 1800, a colossal natural logjam called the Great Raft, stretching more than 100 miles along the Red River, backed the water up until it flooded this bottomland into a lake. 100 miles of accumulated driftwood and timber accidentally built a 27,000-acre lake. The Great Raft eventually gave way, but the lake stayed. Picture this. You push a canoe into one of those cypress channels in the early morning. The trees close overhead. Spanish moss drags across the hull. 20 minutes in, every channel looks the same, and the one you came from has disappeared behind you. You are genuinely lost in a forest that is also a lake, in Texas, which is a sentence that should not make geographic sense. The same quality that makes it extraordinary. The maze, the compression, the way the cypress roots grip the waterline, makes it disorienting without a guide. An invasive fern called giant salvinia keeps trying to choke the water the Great Raft created. Texas's only natural lake was an accident. Built by a logjam, maintained by luck. Number 7, Hamilton Pool. West of Austin, the hill country drops into creek drainages lined with limestone, and somewhere on one of those drainages, the roof of an underground river gave way. Not recently. This has been happening for something like 100,000 years. A slow collapse and recession that left behind a half-open cavern. One wall still standing, one wall gone, a 50-foot waterfall spilling over the remaining lip into a jade-green pool below. Stalactites hang from the ceiling. Ferns grow from the walls. The water is a color that looks adjusted, like someone turned up the saturation in post. It looks like a film set. You book a reservation weeks out. You drive into the hill country. You descend a trail into the grotto. And there is a reasonable chance that when you get there, a sign tells you swimming is closed, bacteria levels, or an unstable section of rock overhead, or both. Entry is capped daily by reservation. The swimming closes regularly. A wonder that spent 100,000 years forming now runs on a permit system and a bacteria count. 100,000 years of geology, and you still might not get to swim in it. You've just seen a grotto that took 100,000 years to form and now requires a reservation. Coming up, a waterfall that is literally still under construction, growing taller right now. And after that, a hole in the ground where the sky goes dark every evening. Number 6, Gorman Falls. Colorado Bend State Park sits in the geographic center of Texas, which is one of the reasons almost nobody finds Gorman Falls. There are no major cities nearby to send visitors down the road. You earn this one specifically. A 1.5-mile hike through cedar and scrub, then a steep descent on a cabled trail. A scramble, not a stroll. And then you are at the base of a 70-foot waterfall that operates on a principle opposite to everything else falling water does. Most waterfalls erode. They wear the rock down. Gorman Falls builds. Spring water carrying dissolved minerals in suspension pours over the face and deposits calcium carbonate as it falls. Travertine, the same pale, layered formation you find in thermal pools, coating everything in a living crust that glows green and gold with moss and maidenhair fern. The falls are getting taller. Slowly, by fractions of an inch, over decades and centuries, but demonstrably taller. And you are not allowed to touch any of it. The formation is so fragile that a single handprint against that surface can kill the delicate living structure that built up over centuries. Visitors are kept at a distance. You look at a waterfall that is still under construction, made of living rock, actively growing, and you keep your hands to yourself. A waterfall still under construction, and you are not allowed to get close enough to touch it. Number 5, Devil's River. The state of Texas has a benchmark river, a standard against which water clarity and purity in every other river in Texas is officially measured. That river is the Devil's River, north of Del Rio, and most Texans could not point to it on a map. It runs through desert country in far southwest Texas, spring-fed and undammed, and it stays a startling, almost artificial turquoise even after heavy rain because the springs feeding it do not carry silt. It tumbles over the whitewater of Dolan Falls through limestone canyon country that sees almost no human traffic. The clarity is not an accident. It is the result of a set of conditions. No dams, consistent spring pressure, sparse land use. That took no effort to create and will take serious effort to keep. Here is what reaching it actually involves. No easy roads to the put-in. A paid state access permit before you can launch. The nearest town is up to a couple of hours from the good stretches. Multi-day paddle with no rescue infrastructure. If something goes wrong in that country, the rescue is yours to organize. The cleanest river in Texas guards its own access. And the longer threat is quieter than the logistics. Groundwater pumping in the region could slow the springs that keep it this clear. The cleanest river in Texas is also the hardest to reach, by design, by consequence, and by the slow arithmetic of what we pull from the ground. Number 4, Devil's Sinkhole. Near Rock Springs in West Texas, there is a hole in the ground that is easy to miss from a distance and impossible to comprehend up close. A single-chamber cavern dropping straight down approximately 350 feet. Sheer vertical, no slope, no ledge. Opening more than 1,000 feet across underground, which makes it the largest cave chamber in Texas. The surface opening is modest. You would not know from 50 yards away that the ground there simply stops and does not resume for 350 feet. From spring through fall, 1 to 3 million Mexican free-tailed bats live in that cavern. Every evening at dusk they come out, not a few at a time, all of them. A column of bats spiraling upward from the pit in a formation observers consistently describe as a tornado. A living, turning column of wings rising out of solid ground, blackening the sky above the hole, visible for distance. You stand at the rim on a guided tour and watch what looks like smoke become wings, become a sky-darkening mass that goes on for longer than seems possible. You do not step closer to the edge. The pit is a sheer, fatal, vertical drop. This is a wonder you admire from where you are standing and nowhere else. 350 feet straight down, 1 million bats, and you watch it all from the edge you're not allowed to cross. 4 spots left, and the list is about to get darker. Coming up, a perfectly round blue hole in a creek bed that has killed 9 people who thought they could see the bottom. Stay with us. Number 3, Jacob's Well. Wimberley is a hill country town people know for tubing and weekend traffic in the Blanco River. They do not always know what is sitting in the bed of a tributary creek nearby. Jacob's Well is an artesian spring that opens as a perfectly round portal in the limestone. Clear, deep blue, clean-edged, roughly the width of a pickup truck. It looks, from the bank, like the most serene swimming hole in Texas. The shaft drops approximately 137 feet straight down and then branches into more than 6,000 feet of mapped underwater cave passage, tight tunnels, silt-choked sections, restrictions that divers cannot back out of easily once committed, millions of gallons of water pushing upward through the system every day. 9 divers have died in those tunnels, not in accidents at the entrance. Deeper in, drawn further into the branching passages than their air supply or their bearings could support. 9 people are in there now, in the mapped passage below a swimming hole in the Texas Hill Country. Diving is banned to the public entirely. Only a licensed exploration team may go down. You stand on the bank looking into blue water that looks perfectly calm and perfectly inviting, and the sign nearby tells you the rest of it. It looks like the most beautiful swimming hole in Texas. Below the surface, it is a mapped graveyard. Number 2, Capote Falls. Far west Texas, one of the emptiest corners of the state, and somewhere out there is the tallest waterfall in all of Texas. A spring-fed cascade dropping approximately 175 feet over ledges of desert rock, building living travertine as it falls in the shape of a hanging cape that gives it its name. 175 feet. For reference, Gorman Falls at number 6 is 70 feet and required a cabled scramble and a strenuous hike to reach. Capote Falls is nearly 2.5 times taller. It should be one of the most photographed places in the state. Almost no one has a legal photograph of it. The falls sit entirely on the privately owned Bright Ranch. No public access, no trail, no permit system, no guided tour, no reservation window. Trespassing to reach it is illegal. You can learn it exists, find the approximate location on a map, drive toward that corner of the state, and stop at a ranch gate with a no trespassing sign. That gate is as close as you are legally permitted to get. A 175-foot waterfall, locked behind a gate. The public is simply not allowed through. That is the whole situation, stated plainly, because there is nothing else to add. Number 1, Santa Elena Canyon. This is where we started. The wall on your right is the United States. The wall on your left is Mexico. The cliffs above you are 1,500 feet tall, and they close to within 30 feet of each other. Santa Elena Canyon sits in Big Bend National Park, the most remote national park in the lower 48 states, a place that requires serious commitment just to reach, hours from the nearest city of any size, at the far southwestern edge of the country. The Rio Grande has sliced a sheer slot through a limestone plateau over millions of years, leaving a canyon so narrow and so vertical that it qualifies as a different category of place than the open canyons most people have seen. The walls are not sloped. They do not lean. They rise straight from the water for 1,500 feet and in the tightest sections close to 30 feet apart. A space where 2 nations face each other across a river that is also a border, that is also the floor of a cathedral-scale chasm that most Americans do not know exists. To reach the mouth of the canyon, you first have to wade Terlingua Creek at the entrance. If it has rained recently, Terlingua Creek floods. It turns to deep, unpredictable mud. It can seal the canyon off entirely. An obstacle that is not marked on most maps and that gives no warning. A fitting final door for the most remote major park in the country. Picture this. The creek is passable. You wade it and step into the slot. The walls go straight up on both sides. The sound changes immediately. The wind, the river, your own footsteps. And the sky above you is a narrow strip of blue between 1,500 feet of pale stone, one wall American, one wall Mexican, the Rio Grande threading the bottom between them. You float a canoe through it if the water allows. The canyon does not acknowledge the border. The border runs through the canyon regardless, a cathedral-sized slot splitting 2 nations. And most people drive past Texas without ever knowing to look. Texas doesn't hide its wonders because it's trying to. It hides them because the state is so vast, so varied, and so indifferent to tourism that nature here simply didn't wait for anyone to build a parking lot. Which of these 12 have you actually seen? And which one are you looking up the second this video ends? Tell us below. If this list sent you somewhere you hadn't planned to go, subscribe. We keep finding the Texas the parking lot version leaves out.